So Keir Starmer is going to set out his plans to end small boat crossings in a speech today where he's expected to announce an increase in funding for the Border Security Command and the fast-tracking of migrant smugglers through the courts. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper joins us live from Glasgow, where this is all underway. Very good morning to you. Can you really stop the boats?
Well, we have to go after the criminal gangs that have been getting away with it for far too long. They are undermining border security and they are putting lives at risk. We see these dangerous boat crossings and these criminal gangs, these smuggler and trafficking gangs, they operate right across Europe and beyond. And that's why we're announcing this £150 million over the next 2 years for the new Border Security Command, including specialist investigators, intelligence officers working with other European countries, working with other countries across the globe. And we're announcing it as at the Interpol conference because it's that international cooperation around law enforcement that is critical. So, yes, we do believe we can make significant progress in going after these gangs. It's not been done properly before and it needs to be.
We've had more making the crossing this year than last year. And last month was the highest month so far this year. I think people watching will think it's going to look like you're doing something, but are we really deterring people from coming to the UK?
So, first point to make is just about the course of the crossings that we've seen this year. The first half of the year, the first 6 months of the year, which was obviously under the previous government, that was the highest on record for those 6 months of the year. That was obviously really troubling. We were concerned that would continue, those record high levels would continue throughout the year. We haven't seen that. The 3-month period, July to September, that summer period, was lower than last year, was lower than previous years. But then October, you're right, was higher than last year. It was still lower than the same period 2 years ago, and is partly dependent on what the Met Office describe as the red days.
October is our busiest month this year under your government.
That's right. And
people would be forgiven for asking, are we deterring people from coming? I mean, the Conservatives, of course, as you know, had a scheme. They hadn't properly got it up and running, and of course it had cost a lot of money. But at least it was a deterrent, they claim. It was Rwanda. If you look at Italy, they are processing their immigrants in Albania, their illegal immigrants. Is that something you would consider, having a third country processing centre?
So, firstly, on the Rwanda scheme, that had been running for 2.5 years and the Conservatives had spent £700 million on it.
Legal hold-ups had meant that it wasn't running properly. We hadn't sent anyone to Rwanda.
Exactly. They had spent 2.5 years and they sent 4 volunteers and they spent £700 million on it. That was a shocking waste of money on a scheme that people had always said to them from the start was unworkable, was unaffordable and was just a gimmick. I mean, we can't do things by gimmicks.
But to be fair to the previous government, and I have to say this, obviously, in the interests of impartiality, they had not managed to get it through, so it was legally watertight. It was not operating in the way that they intended, and therefore it couldn't be said to be up and running properly. The point is, a lot of people think we need a deterrent to stop illegal immigrants coming here. Why are so many coming here to the UK? Is it because at some stage they're going to get looked after, housed, have some benefits, be supported, and are unlikely, frankly, to be sent anywhere else?
Well, we certainly have to improve returns and enforcement. And already over the summer, we've had a 23% increase compared to last year. As a result of a lot of the work we've done, we've put up to 1,000 additional officers into the returns and enforcement programme. So that has increased returns over the summer.
So tell us
So that has increased returns. And that, I think, that will start to feed through.
By how many?
That's it's a 23% increase over the summer. But the numbers aren't yet high enough. We have substantially got to increase that. We also have to speed up the asylum system. The decision-making had collapsed. So, of course, if people arrive and then can spend several years in a very expensive asylum accommodation with no decision being taken and no proper returns at the end of it, of course, that is a system that is chaotic and not working. But the other issue, I think, to go to the heart of your problem as well, the point you raised, is if there's no deterrent for the criminal gangs, they will just keep making money. So they're making hundreds of millions of pounds, putting people on these dangerous, flimsy boats, and they're getting away with it. So that's why we have to have the much stronger action with France, with Germany, with Italy, with countries right across Europe, because those gangs are operating right across through other countries. It's a cross-border crime.
When do you...
And that's why you need the law enforcement.
Yeah.
Sorry, Susanna.
What kind of time frame are we looking at? Because I think a lot of people have heard many, many years of government ministers saying we're putting more money in to tackle this problem, and all they see is the numbers going up.
Yeah, so I think what I'm not going to do is what Rishi Sunak did and just throw slogans at everybody and promise everything will be solved in 12 months, which is what he did. Of course, it didn't work.
So you're not setting yourself a target of a year,
Instead, things got worse. What we want to do is make substantial progress and to do so as far and as fast as possible. So we're working already, even as we go through the winter months, we are working on this substantial increase in law enforcement cooperation. We've got new work with Germany underway about how you actually stop some of the supply chains, because we know that boats and engines, for example, are being shipped through Germany. We should be trying to stop those boats before they reach the French coast in the first place.
When will the electorate see a reduction in numbers?
Well, we want to see progress made as far and as fast as possible. And I totally understand that the question you're raising, Susanna, but I am just going to keep saying what I think people want to see is us making progress rather than simply just doing the slogans as the previous government did. So the Prime Minister said he wants us to make significant progress. That's why you need the law enforcement in place and you need the increased returns in place. And we've got to have much faster asylum decision making, because that's just not happening at all at the moment. Or it has, wasn't happening, and we have substantially increased the asylum decision-making through the summer.
Can we even say that by the next general election you'll have the numbers down?
Oh, of course we look, nobody should be making these dangerous crossings. So, of course, we want to reduce these crossings as far and as fast as possible.
So by the next
because
general
no
election,
one should be making those dangerous journeys.
Just want to pick up a couple of other things while we have you. The budget. A lot of people feel that they were misled. And I'll tell you why. A JL Partners poll say that 53% of people polled called the budget unfair on working people. There were £40 billion of tax rises, but this is what we were told by Labour spokespeople before the election. Have a listen.
All of our manifesto is fully funded and fully costed. There is no need to make changes to other taxes.
Our tax plans are clear and our manifesto does not need further tax increases.
We are in a doom loop in this country of higher taxes on working people and at best, stagnant growth.
There is nothing in the manifesto, nothing in the plans that we published today that will require further tax increases.
Were we lied to?
Well, clearly, when we arrived in government, we did discover that there were substantial commitments that had been made that were unfunded. That does include some of the things that we identified in the Home Office around the Rwanda scheme, around the asylum accommodation, that simply weren't funded at all. And we're saving billions of pounds from the action we're taking there. Also includes things like the commitments rightly made for the victims of the infected blood scandal, the Horizon Post Office scandal.
The black hole.
We have inherited
22 billion pounds. The tax rises, 40 billion pounds. The number doesn't add up.
Well, I think it's right that the difficult decisions that Rachel Reeves has taken have been about how you fix the gap in the public finances that we inherited, how you also make sure that we get the growth that we need, investment in growth, and also deal with the really sort of parlous state of the National Health Service, the deep damage that had been done to the National Health Service. And the point you raised at the beginning was about the impact on working people. Again, Rachel has worked really hard to make sure that we're not putting up the income tax and the national insurance contributions for employees, the things that we had said in the election. It's true, there is an increase on national insurance contributions for employers. It's true that there are difficult decisions. I mean, we can't get away from that. No. This is about having to fix the foundations and not run away from those difficult decisions because of the mess that we've inherited.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us on Good Morning Britain this morning.